Hey, what's up, rock stars? It's Rox coming to you today with a review for Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 19. So let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys, so the show starts where it ended last week. That was Mel and Marceau having their conversation. And you know what? Mel is just trying to get Marceau to admit that he takes jabs. Most of them are dirty, and that he was being an ass when he was saying the things that he said about her and her businesses. And Marceau is trying to get her to understand that those aren't jabs. She was just like, they most definitely are jabs. Not only that, but you don't even want me and Letitia to be able to be friends, because every time we get it together, every time it looked like we getting back on track, then here come Marceau saying something to just kind of muddy the waters all over again. It ain't Letitia, it's you. And he was just like, that's not true. I want you guys to be in a good space. But Marceau says that there are certain businesses, small businesses, that he just does not have respect for. And that's such a snobby way of thinking of things, because money is money and it spins the same way. Now, unless you got just some mega huge business that's super successful, that does all this, everybody else is just sort of like, we all just trying to make it happen. How you gonna be mad at how I make money? How you don't respect the fact that if somebody makes $20,000 from selling t-shirts and then you make $20,000 from a deal flipping a house, how is your business any better than mine? Your best business is more prestigious because you sell real estate and I sell t-shirts. Okay. But yeah, the fact that he thinks that way is just such a I'm better than you type of way of thinking that not surprising though for Marceau. He brought up them filing bankruptcy. And she was just like, yeah, well, you know what? Me and Martell had to file bankruptcy when we got a divorce, okay? Because they had assets and shit together that they had to split up. And it was so messy that bankruptcy was the best way for them. So she has a reason why they filed bankruptcy. What about you and Letitia filing bankruptcy? You guys filed bankruptcy because your money was fucked up, okay? Had nothing to do with any other reason. And bankruptcy is not so bad. No, if I got to file bankruptcy to get myself back on track, then what's the problem? That's what bankruptcy is for. But she has a problem with him, the fact that he was just trying to limit her business to e-commerce. And she was just like, you know good and damn well that I do more than that. And he was just like, I don't know that. And she was just like, I still have my business, my real estate restoration business or whatever it is that she has. And he was just like, oh, I didn't know that. And she was just like, you did know that because you commented about it on social media in the comments one time. And he was just like, no, he didn't know that she was still doing that. Okay, that's a business that he does respect. Oh, well, you know what? Call everybody up. Marceau respects this business. I'm sorry, the word that he was using was values, but it's the same thing. It's just sort of like, I don't give a fuck that you don't value the money that I make over here, but I'm just as rich as you are. So you don't have to respect the way that I got my money, but just know I have it too. So, you know, Marceau was just trying to get like, you know what, he values Mel and everything. You know, Marceau really does love Mel. So the fact that he said all of that, I almost feel like Marceau just said that to pull Mel out so that them two can have a conversation, because maybe he misses Mel. You know, they haven't had to spar in a long time. So I feel like he did that because he knew, like, I'm going to get a reaction out of her now. You know, I get to sit across from the love of my life. I'm just kidding, you guys. I don't think that he loves Mel like that. But I do always feel like Marceau has a little something in him for Mel. Okay, he definitely really does like Mel. Anyway, Marceau is just telling her that was just a small part of the conversation that him and the Fletchers had. He just figured that they just told her the bad parts, but he had a lot of other glowing things to say. She was just like, the way that you talked about my business and my business acumen, it was a disgrace. Don't come for me. Don't come for my business, what I'm doing. Like, I don't need you to say or comment on anything like that. And he says, okay, he won't do it anymore. But yeah, but remember, Mel, he does value business, real estate preservation. That's what it was. Real estate preservation. He values that. Anyways, enough about that. Kimmy is going to have a town hall so we can just talk about all of these issues. And so he's going to go there and he is going to value all of the feedback, whether it's positive or negative. He's going to listen to what everybody says, you know, so maybe Mel can come to that and voice her opinion too. And she was just like, so Marceau is criticizing me, you know, saying that I don't have no business and anything, but now he wants me to come to this town hall and he wants me to share my experiences or, you know, give my opinion again. Okay, what the hell is it that Marceau wants? Now let's jump over to Tiffany and Lou. what do I need to say about this whole segment? That whole segment, I didn't even really take notes. I had put my phone down and I was listening in my Bluetooth, and I was just like, because what do you want us to do with this information, Tiffany? Her and Lou go on a little picnic. You know, she says, oh, I finally have my husband. I never see my husband. He's always at work. You know, Lou is a coach. He's an assistant coach or of some baseball team, and they travel. I'm not sure. I think he said it was from the school that he went to, or a school. And they travel. And this was some of the things that he was telling her, you know, that they both have very demanding jobs, and his is not going to be able to stop. And really hers isn't either, you know. So having a baby right now really wasn't in the cards. But, you know, Tiffany, she just pleaded and cried and wanted and all this. So he finally said, okay, let's have a baby. So we got the baby now. And Lou is still working like Lou said he was going to. And Tiffany is still working like Lou told Tiffany she was going to. And she's overwhelmed. Okay. And she got the nerve to be sitting up there complaining to him about it. And you know, I never see my husband, like he's never around. And he was like, I told you. What do you want us to do with it? I can't even believe that she's allowing herself to look this stupid. Okay, because she gotta know that everybody is gonna be up there saying, like, Tiffany, you was the main one that wanted this baby, and Lou tried to tell you all it was gonna be, you know. So it's just amazing to me that she's actually allowing herself to be raked over the coals like this, because, girl, nobody is gonna feel sorry. Nobody is going to feel sorry for you. Okay, now we've all been new moms. Those of us with children, we've all been new moms. And yes, it is very, very stressful. Yes, it is a lot of work. Yes, it interrupts all of your schedules. Yes, things change, life changes, everything changes. The fact that she had already had a damn child and she should have known this and she didn't, it just perplexes me. But you know what, Tiffany, I can't feel sorry for you. You know, her trying to say she don't like the way she look and all this, like trying to play on the pity side. Girl, I don't give a fuck. You look just like you did before you had this baby. Okay, maybe a few pounds, that's expected when you have kids. We don't give a fuck about what you look like. It's the inside. That shit is rotten, okay? And we don't like you. And you and the baby and Lou, y'all can go, for real. Okay, the baby ain't did nothing. And we love the baby. And, you know, God bless them and all. But everybody can go. Because we already had told you ain't want to listen. So I don't care. I just don't care about Tiffany and her feelings at all. Lou ain't cheating on her on the road. He doesn't strike me as the type that's going to do that, even though it's possible. Everybody is able to cheat, okay? But I don't know if I feel like that's what Lou is doing. Lou is just like, I tried to tell her, now I'm going to show her better, okay? Tiffany is one of them ones that don't get the picture until it's done to her. So, I mean, that's where we are with it. So, yeah, I don't give a damn. Next part. So, this town hall. Maurice tells us that he thinks that it's a great idea that Kimmy has come up with, you know. And I was just like, it's a stupid idea. Because why? Because we not doing, who is throwing these type of things again with the whole group? You know, it's just a waste of time. And we already know how this conversation is going to go. So why? But, you know, this is getting back to the original, the shit that we used to like when we first started watching the show. Maybe we can get back to that, okay? So we get the core six together, all right? Plus Stormy and Courtney. When Stormy and Courtney gets there, they ignore Marceau. And Marceau was just like, he's fine with that. They can ignore him if they want to. Did you guys see the body language as everybody was sitting at the table? Where everybody was sitting up straight at the table, and honey, Courtney was leg cocked back like this. Because Courtney was just like, I'm going to have to really try to stay cool here, or else I'm going to fuck up Marceau. Okay? Because I can already tell I like Courtney. Courtney just seemed like he cool, calm, collected. You know, he ain't got time for all of the bullshit. So anyway, so they all sit down and they talking. And Marceau is just trying to get them to understand that the reason why Mel has been successful in her businesses is because of the platform. Okay, it's not necessarily because in these other businesses, and not talking about, I'm assuming, her preservation and the other things that she does as far as real estate is concerned, but the new businesses that have come about is because of the show. All right. So he didn't feel like Mel coming to talk to the people about those businesses was going to benefit the people because they don't have a show. They don't have a platform. So he feels like paying people to talk to somebody about just some old bullshit ass businesses. That's not what he was trying to do. I mean, this is me in layman's terms, but I think that this is what Marceau was feeling. And while I can agree with Marceau with that, you know, really and truly, when you have these kind of business expos, what else is it more than just a motivational thing? It's nothing really happening at those expos that puts you on immediately right there. It's really just gathering information, you know. So if people want to even have a business that is a fast business, e-commerce or whatever, if somebody has that information to give them, why not give it to them? All right, you thinking that that just because you don't value that business doesn't mean that other people might not value it, and they may be able to get to that easier than the way that you know, than what you think if this person just told them something. So anyway, you know, so everybody's trickling in. Kimmy is one of the last to get there. She said, oh, she walked in, it was all this tension. And then Mel is the last person to get there. And she said, yeah, oh my God, it's very, very tense. Like as soon as she got there. But everybody, oh, they all sparked up when Mel got there. Mel was like, I'm on my zen today. I'm really not trying to be in nothing. But, you know, Mel comes and she sits down and she's talking. So she was just like, so me and Marceau did talk already. And Marceau did apologize. It did take him a little time. It was a little difficult for him. You guys know that he don't say sorry easily, but he did. Well, then Mel decides to give her feedback, you know, what they can do different next time. You know, basically this shit wasn't as organized as it could have been. All right, you guys didn't have things all together like you needed to be. And really the things that Mel said, it was nothing for anybody to get offended by, because isn't it supposed to be a constructive criticism session? Okay, so, okay, Mel did it, and I didn't think that Mel was being offensive when she said what she said. And who got offended? Letitia. Oh, so wait a minute, you trying to say that it wasn't organized? She was like, no, it wasn't organized. I mean, y'all asking for $100 on the day of the event when people didn't know about it. Some people paid, some people didn't pay. Oh, no, everybody paid. Who all paid? Okay, Maurice said he paid Marceau, all right? And that's the reason why Maurice said it, so that he can be at a table at a conference like this and say, well, I paid, all right? Even though nobody else paid, nobody else knew about it, and y'all trying to act like folks knew. So Tisha did get a little offended by it. No, we had already talked about what was going to happen at the expo. You know, it's just that, so that part was organized. It was just some other things came up. All right, Letitia, get out your feelings. So Stormy says, well, you know, all of that is kind of, you know, we got to organize and do things a little bit better. She was like, because, you know, when people come to these kind of expos, they don't always know what they're supposed to be doing. You know, they don't have the funds. They don't have the way, you know, so sometimes it's good for people to just get up there and tell them how they did it and all of that. And Marceau was just like, yeah, but you know what? Motivational speeches don't get nobody nowhere. You can motivate all you want, and then at the end of the day, that person still ain't got the business that they wanted. They motivated, but they still ain't got the shit to do. So he don't want people to be getting all hyped up. And she was just like, that is not even what I'm trying to say. Mel was just like, there's nothing wrong with somebody being hyped up. Like, there's nothing wrong with motivating somebody. Some people, that's all they need. Other people might need the tools and everything. But yeah, Marceau just don't want nobody getting up there saying like, you can do it, and that's it. So yeah, the conversation is getting bad, you know, and Courtney and Stormy, they're over there and they're talking, and then Marceau says something slick, like, you know, he wants to hear from Courtney's wife. He doesn't want to hear from Courtney. I want to hear from Courtney's wife. And so then Courtney turns it right back on him and was just like, how about you let your wife speak? Okay, your wife is much better at this than you. She's way more organized than you. Okay, when you talk, everything gets fucked up. Let your wife handle it. And Marceau was just like, oh, you know, in this business over here, as far as me and my wife is concerned, we don't have gender roles. You know, we all do the work. Everybody is being catty. And, you know, the way Courtney is laid back, like I said, you could tell it was for real, like, who is going to be the shadiest up at this table? Marceau is catty. Courtney called him catty. Marceau is catty. Okay, it was awful. Marcel is actually very awful, but he knows it and he plays it well. But anyways, this conversation is really a buzz because honestly, they're only there to just kind of air their grievances between Marceau and Tisha, or with Marceau and Tisha. It's really nothing else. And Mel realizes that. Mel's like, I got a damn plane to catch, so I'm not gonna be here. Y'all need to value what I said because I did give y'all some gems there. I wasn't trying to be messy or nothing. I just said what it is. So y'all need to take what I said and take it to heart. But I'm out. Maybe next time it'll be more organized. And Letitia was just like, it was organized. Like I said, Tisha was upset by what Mel said, and everybody was like, that shit was not organized. But whatever. Mel left. They all still kind of just fussing at the table. Like I said, Tisha feeling her feelings about what was said and all of that. And then it just becomes a name calling, contest. So Stormy calls Marceau a bitch. And Marceau said, yeah, that if he's a bitch, he's okay with being a bitch. Only time that I did laugh when Marceau said to Tiffany, I know you're not used to being valued where you are, but over here we value everything you say. I cracked up. Letitia was just like, why would you say something like that? You really are an ass, okay? Well, I guess Marceau was just like, they was throwing it at him, so he was throwing it right back. So, they go back and forth over this $100, but it's basically the same thing. Everybody complaining about what Letitia and Marceau did. Marceau not listening to nobody. Letitia knowing that her man is wrong, but still trying to feel like she got to have his back. But then she also getting offended by the shit that was being said, even though this was supposed to be constructive criticism. It's just sort of like, child, what is we doing here? But yeah, anyway, it was the same as usual. The way that our core 6 conversations usually go. Just add in Courtney and Stormy. Now, after this conversation was had, Kimmy realizes that she's going to have a conversation with Nell because you guys know that Nell gets upset when she doesn't get invited to things. And, Nell and Chris Fletcher were not at the town hall meeting. And I was just like, we really got to coddle Nell, the fact that she wasn't there. Like, who was thinking about Nell and Chris Fletcher? And none of us thought, oh my God, you guys forgot Nell and Chris Fletcher. If we didn't think of Tiffany and Lou, we really wasn't thinking of Chris and Nell. And this girl wasn't a part of the original group. She really just came in this season. And she want to be invited to everything. Girl, go somewhere. Sure, like Kimmy said, Kimmy was just like, we had the town hall meeting and you guys weren't invited, and Nell was upset. She was like, we've been in Huntsville before any of you guys did, and we like the OGs. And Kimmy was just like, okay, and what that got to do with the price of tea? Because what you guys being here first got to do with anything? Well, I think Nell is trying to say that they really should have been the main people on this show. I think as far as Nell is concerned, they should have been the Mel and Martell of the show. Okay, because she just keep on bringing it up like they was the originals. They was always the power couple. They was this, they was that. Kim was trying to be diplomatic, but I was just rolling my eyes. I was like, now what we not gonna do? Like, I don't have a problem with Nell, but what we not gonna do is we not gonna be sitting up here and every time that we feel like Nell's feelings was hurt, that we gonna have a special sit down with Nell. We not doing that, Nell. You gonna have to get over it, girl. There was no need for you to be at the damn town hall because you was not even at the expo. Had nothing to do with none of it. So why would we invite you? So I was just like, Kimmy, girl, you sitting up here being nice to Nell. That was nice and everything, but it was so unnecessary. But Nell feels like the core 6 needs to listen to her and other entrepreneurs in the area. Her and Chris Fletcher have experience. Listen, I'm sure everybody, a lot of people have experience. That's just, you guys just didn't happen to be there at this one. It's okay. Girl, please. So, Kimmy just sat there and listened to it, let the girl go on. And then Kimmy was like, it's not no bad blood. And Nell was like, no, it's not no bad blood. We good. I'm fine. But, Nell still needed it to be made clear that she was not happy not being there. But Nell has no issue with Kimmy. Kimmy says she don't have any issue with Nell. So, this was just a moot point conversation. It was unnecessary. But I guess Kimmy did it so that Nell wouldn't be feeling, when she finds out about, girl, I would have been like, fuck Nell. Okay. I don't give a damn what Nell think over there, but okay, Nell. I hope she feels better now. And then lastly, we see Martell. He goes to visit his business partner. business partner is Fred. Okay, Fred has the builder's license. Martell always finds the person with the license, and his ass just cannot get that damn license. Anyway, Martell tells us, you know, since the divorce and everything, him and Mel's business was messed up. His finances got really bad. Everything just got really bad. So they had to file bankruptcy, and he had to get back on his feet. So, you know, things was pretty bad for a while, but now he's getting back to it. He feeling like the old Martell. Okay, so he getting ready to get back to what he's great at, which is, you know, building these houses. So he's telling his partner everything. He's back. You know, he's back. He's ready. So they're at the location where Martell is getting his house built, right? They looking at the land. Chris Fletcher shows up, and he was just like, oh yeah, this gonna be nice. This is gonna be nice. Like, what's the time period? And Martell tells him that September-ish is the goal. That's when he plans on moving in. He might rent it out. He's not sure. He's still trying to decide. And Chris was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And speaking of rent, you know, when you think you're going to be out of the house? And he said, well, I mean, we just talked about it. 2 weeks. I'm going to be out. Me and the kids going to be out 2 weeks. And he was like, no. That was 2 weeks ago that we talked about it being 2 weeks. So really, you should be moving tomorrow. Okay. I got to give this house to these people. And Martell is like, no. Like, what you going to do? What you going to do? You going to put me out? Like, no, you gotta go. So then he's doing all this in front of his friend Fred, his business partner. And Fred was like, well, damn, like, you gonna make the man leave? I mean, 2 more weeks is... But what Fred ceases to understand is that Martell has overstayed his welcome almost a damn year. Chris been trying to get the nigga out the house all this time. So Chris is just sort of like, yes, he gotta go, because we already talked about this. This is not just something new. This is something that's been ongoing, Fred. Mind your business. Get your ass out the house so I can sell it. Okay. But anyway, they start talking about the expo and the sit-down town hall that they had afterwards, and the fact that Nell and Chris wasn't there. Chris is still salty about the fact they said that they didn't know they had a daycare, and Fred was like, I didn't know you had a daycare either. Well, Fred, nigga, we don't know you. Why would you know? Mind your business, Fred. Get out this conversation. So then they started discussing, like, maybe Tish and Marceau had got sponsorship and kept it a secret. They just be throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Right now, they did get sponsorship when they didn't, supposedly. You know, and Martell was just like, well, see, that's the whole thing. They didn't even know nothing about no sponsorship. They hadn't even thought about it until Melody brought it up. And that's the whole thing that Martell is trying to say. It's funny how he lumped himself in with Melody. Melody fighting her own fight over there. But he's like, me and Melody, we did a lot for them. You know, we was in business together, even though I'm sure that Martell is telling the truth in some ways. You know, they did all work together. Mel and Martell, I'm sure, was a benefit to the business, or else they wouldn't have been in it with them. Okay, I'm sure they did learn some things from Mel and Martell, and vice versa. You know, everybody was still getting started, so they probably learned from each other, you know, or learned together. But he was just like, Mel has always been a speaker, you know, that's what she does, and that for them to say that, you know, she shouldn't have been paid, or she wasn't no speaker and all this, and it was just sort of like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about Martell taking up for Mel so strong. All right. The way the previews looked, it seemed like Martell was trying to get back on Mel's good side. Like that's the route that he's decided to take now. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, just sitting there listening to him, you know, trying to hang on to damn Mel's dick. Me and Mel made him. Well, see, that's when these conversations, that's the problem with the men, the egos. Now, ain't nobody said that you made nobody or nothing, okay? All you have to say is, we helped them the way that they helped us. We all helped each other. We were in business together, you know. But, you know, we made them and we did this. That's the kind of shit that be the problems on these, when they be having these conversations, is when motherfuckers say shit like that, you know. So, Martell and Marceau, they are so annoying. And you're right. if Martell and Marsau and Maurice wasn't on there, and then the women could try to work on getting themselves back together, because clearly Mel is willing to do it. I think Letitia, if she can get out of this space where she feels like she always has to protect Marsau. Now, I mean, that's her husband. You have to protect your husband. I get that. But what I'm saying is, Letitia always takes Marsau's the shit that really should be coming to Marsau. So if Letitia could stop just taking it up for Marsau all the time, Mel and Letitia probably would be friends again. Okay? But the men definitely make it a lot more difficult. But I guess that's how this show is built. So we got the men, child. Get on off of here. Okay, make sure that you thumbs up the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm itsrox. The channel is itsrox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, rock stars.